Hello and welcome again to Strategic Conversations, our opportunity to visit about the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences and the new and exciting things that are happening in our college. Today we're extremely glad to have Dr. Craig Yencho with us from the Department of Horticultural Science. Dr. Yencho comes to us with a lot of great news about a Gates Foundation grant that he has and it's just been announced here at NC State, and we're excited to have him with us. So we welcome Dr. Craig Yencho. Glad to have you, Craig.
Thanks, Marshall.
Glad to have you with us. Our first question today, before we get into the Gates Foundation kinds of stuff, I really want to know a little bit about you. Where are you from? How did you get to North Carolina State? Give us a little bit of that journey. And why plant sciences? Why are you interested in sweet potatoes?
Well, Marshall, I grew up in a small town in northeastern Pennsylvania called Cunningham. And it's a small agricultural area. And my father actually ran a bus and truck company, so I didn't grow up in ag, but ag was all around me. And when I was a kid, I used to bale hay. And I think I became sort of appreciative of agriculture, but I always liked biology. And when I graduated from high school, I went to Penn State University and I majored in biology. And I became involved with an entomologist by the name of Ed Masteller, and he introduced me to insects. And I worked with him for a while as an entomologist using insects to study water quality in streams. And at the end of my 4-year degree, I realized that there weren't a lot of jobs in that area, but I had learned about integrated pest management. And so I spent about 9 months working as an IPM scout for potatoes and remarkably grapes. And after that, I graduated and was recruited at Washington State University to do a degree in entomology and integrated pest management, and I became more deeply involved in ag from that side, more from a pest management point of view. But while I was at Washington State, I began to be knowledgeable about that actually plants defend themselves against insects, and to me this was like a whole new world that opened up. And I started to think about, well, how could you manipulate plants to defend themselves using natural chemicals? And I graduated with a master's degree at Washington State, and then I went and I joined the Peace Corps for 2 years in the West Indies, St. Kitts and Nevis. And there I was an IPM coordinator for a large program. And I became more deeply involved with ag from there. It was my first introduction actually to sweet potatoes. Sweet potato there was an important crop in the West Indies. It had a lot of pest problems. We worked on some of them. And when I was done with my Peace Corps service, I came back up and I was recruited by Cornell University, again in entomology, but my minor was in plant breeding. And it was at Cornell where I really became fascinated with the interface between plant breeding and plants. And that's sort of the quick journey that has brought me to plant breeding.
So Craig, tell us a little bit about the sweet potato and what's this impact in North Carolina and what's going on with your work here in North Carolina with sweet potato growers?
Oh, they're a hugely important crop to North Carolina. It's our most important vegetable crop, and it brings in, just in terms of farm gate value, the amount of revenue that the farmer receives for selling the product, around about $200 million a year. And I was mentioning to you earlier that just in the short time that I've been here, about 15, 16 years now, our acreage has doubled. And the growth in sweet potatoes here in North Carolina has really been phenomenal. And it's been a real pleasure to be a part of it, both on the university side, but also working with our farmers and our clientele all throughout the state, but particularly down east.
We are very excited that here at NC State we've just found out we've got a new grant coming in from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's so exciting to know that it's coming here to NC State, $12 million, and of course, Craig, you're a big part of that. You've been the principal investigator to make that happen. Tell us what's happening with that particular grant.
The Gates Foundation is, the Gates project is actually, the formal title is Genomic Tools for Sweet Potato Improvement, is a really large project. And I'd have to say that it's the result of our working with the foundation over a number of years to help sort of build the initial foundations for the project and then conceive what we need to do in the future to drive sweet potato improvement. The foundation, as you know, invests deeply in sub-Saharan Africa. So this project is focused on improving sweet potato for sub-Saharan Africa. Sweet potatoes in Africa are what we call a staple crop. Many people eat them as part of their daily meal. Some poorer, resource-poor farmers in countries like Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Mozambique will eat sweet potatoes very often, once, twice, maybe 3 times a day. The thing is, though, that the varieties that they eat right now aren't high in beta-carotene, which is a precursor to vitamin A formation in humans. And vitamin A deficiencies across sub-Saharan Africa are rampant, and it's a really important nutrient. And it turns out that orange flesh sweet potatoes, the type that we're familiar with here and that we love in North Carolina, are very high in beta-carotene, are an excellent source of vitamin A. And so our goal is to breed high vitamin A sweet potatoes in Africa that are resistant to their pests and their diseases, and that are more palatable to the African diets. Africans prefer a sweet potato type that is less sweet than what we like here, and it's a little bit drier, a little bit more mealy than the type that we have here too. So the challenge is to keep the beta-carotene, make them less sweet, make them more dry, but resistant to viruses and insects that are of great importance in sub-Saharan Africa. The thing that's really cool about it, though, is that the new tools that we're developing for the project, they're going to benefit us right here at home too. And we've assembled a really stellar team of scientists here at NC State. We have at least 4 other scientists in addition to myself, 1 in plant pathology and 3 scientists in the Bioinformatics Research Center between CALS and the College of Science. And it's really bringing a really great, smart group of people together here at NC State to tackle these problems. Our other partners are at the Boyce Thompson Institute at Cornell University. They'll be doing the genomic sequencing for sweet potato. This will be our very first. Up until now, we don't have a sequenced genome for sweet potato, so this will be a first of the project. We have colleagues at Michigan State University. We have colleagues all the way out in Australia at the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia. And then we have our international partners through the International Potato Center, CIP. And CIP has substations in Kenya, Uganda, and Ghana, and they have scientists in each one of these countries that we'll be working with in addition to their home office in Lima, Peru. And then we have 2 national programs, one of which is in Uganda that our Chancellor, Dr. Woodson, visited back in 2013 around May. We were able to tell him about our program, so we learned a lot about that program back then. And we have another national program in Ghana that's doing work. And our goal, in short, is to develop new genomic and bioinformatic-based breeding tools to help us improve sweet potato for the future.
So Craig, when we think about this particular grant, we see the strategic plan all over it. Our college went through a strategic planning process, and we talked about interdisciplinary work. We talked about working with people in other departments, other colleges, the opportunity to work collaboratively across universities and around the world. So when we think about this project, it truly is living out the strategic plan.
This project, I think, embodies the strategic plan, and I think that it's going to bring new resources and new people. And as a scientist, as a breeder, I really feel fortunate to be able to kind of bring those different people together to realize that goal. I agree with you entirely.
So Craig, obviously your pathway to where you are today as a professor at NC State has been one that's taken a lot of different turns. Just imagine that there's some junior in high school sitting out there, maybe a teacher, a parent, that's interested in helping some young person get to a place where you are. What would you tell them today? What advice could you give them, and why should they be excited about maybe going into a plant science career?
I think that one, I would have never have guessed what I'm doing today as a plant breeder and a plant scientist. And I think for young people thinking about this career, there's space in this career for almost anything you like to do as a person. If you like to be outside, plant breeding is outside. You can focus in that area. If you happen to like mathematics and science, we need good mathematicians, we need good scientists, and you can find a space in that area. If you like to work with people and you like to lead teams as a sweet potato or as a sweet potato breeder, as a breeder in general, you generally are the hub of the wheel, and you learn to work with people and lead teams. If you like to travel, I say this to colleagues of mine and people who don't know about plant breeding, I'm impressed with what breeding has done for me. I have literally traveled the globe many times over now as part of the job, and it's not really a job, it's a passion. So there's a little bit that you can find of everything if you want to work in plant breeding. If you love plants, you like to work in the backyard garden or so, plant breeding is a wonderful thing.
So when we think about North Carolina State, we obviously understand that our university is doing things around the world. We're doing innovative things that not only affect farmers and people in agriculture in North Carolina, but around the globe. So we're having that global impact as we think about your work with sweet potatoes.
I think that is very, very true. And I think that probably one of the most rewarding aspects of my job is not only working with my colleagues here in the college and both in the U.S., internationally, domestically, but also I still get out to the farm and meeting the farmers and connecting with the farmers and the research extension agents and having that connection, the connection to North Carolina, but viewing North Carolina in the overall context of where we fit in the country and the globe. That's really, it's very challenging and it's very rewarding at the same time, and I enjoy that aspect of the job a lot.
So again, we want to thank Dr. Craig Yencho for being with us today. This has been a great opportunity to learn more about how we live out the land-grant mission here in our college of research, of teaching, and of extension, whether it be here in North Carolina or around the world. We're certainly proud of Craig and his colleagues that are doing this great work with the Gates Foundation. This is just one example of the many great things that are happening in our college as we live out the strategic plan of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. So with that, we want to say thank you for being with us for this strategic conversation. We're delighted today to be with you from our Arboretum here at North Carolina State University. If you haven't ever been to the Arboretum, we hope you'll come here. It's a great showpiece, a centerpiece of what we do here at NC State and our college. Thank you for being with us today.